You did not choose the way you flinch. You did not choose your baseline of anxiety, the speed at which your heart races when someone raises their voice, the instinct to lean toward a stranger or pull back. You did not choose the depth of your patience or how quickly it runs dry. And yet these things feel so fundamentally you that you have spent your whole life either accepting them as your nature or blaming yourself for them as personal failures. But what if the truth is a stranger? What if a significant portion of the person watching this video was calibrated before you were born, written into your biology by people you never met, reacting to events you will never know about, decades before your parents were even born themselves? The answer is hiding inside a field of science that, until recently, most people had never heard of. It is called epigenetics, and what it has uncovered should change how you think about every reaction you have ever hated yourself for having. To understand it, you need to let go of one idea you were probably taught in school. You were told that your DNA is a fixed instruction manual, that the genes you are born with are the genes you die with, and that the experiences of your life do not alter the code that you pass to your children. That last part is where the story bends. Your DNA is the hardware. Epigenetics is the software. Tucked along the length of your DNA are tiny chemical markers called methyl groups, and they behave like switches. They do not change the genetic code itself though. They change whether a particular gene is turned on or off, dialed up or silenced. And these markers respond to experience. Starvation adds them. Trauma adds them. Abundance removes them. Your body is constantly reading its environment and adjusting its own internal setting in response. Here is the part that should unsettle you. Some of those markers do not get wiped clean between generations. They are passed forward. A parent's experience writes instructions into their offspring's biology, and those instructions can travel forward for 2, sometimes 3 generations, into people who never lived through the original event. And this is not a theory. It has been measured repeatedly in ways that are very difficult to argue with. During the winter of 1944, the Western Netherlands experienced a famine so severe that people survived on 400 to 600 calories a day. The Nazi blockade had cut off food supplies, and an entire population starved through the coldest months of the year. Pregnant mothers were among the hungry. The children they carried were born small and underweight, which surprised no one. What did surprise everyone was what happened to those children 40 or 50 years later. As adults, the children of the hunger winter had dramatically higher rates of obesity, diabetes, schizophrenia, and heart diseases than their own siblings who had been born just before or just after the famine. Same parents, same household, same genes, but different outcome. Their bodies had been calibrated in the womb to expect a world of scarcity, hoarding every calorie, bracing for deprivation. When the world turned abundant again, that calibration became a slow kind of damage. And then comes the strangest part. Their children, the grandchildren of the mothers who starved, showed the same metabolic signatures. The experience of a single brutal winter in 1944 had been written forward 2 generations, into people who had never missed a meal in their lives. Think about what that means for a moment. A woman eating 400 calories a day in January of 1945 was unknowingly adjusting the metabolism of a grandchild who would be born in the 80s, in a country of supermarkets and abundance. The grandchild's body was shaped by a hunger it never tasted. A researcher named Rachel Yehuda spent years studying something even harder to look at. She and her team at the Econ School, I think I butchered that name, of medicine examined the adult children of Holocaust survivors. These were people raised in safe homes in peaceful countries, decades after the war ended. Their bodies had never known a camp, their lives had never been threatened. And yet, when Yehuda measured their stress hormones, she found them altered. The children of survivors had different cortisol patterns than the general population. Their genes related to stress regulation carried different epigenetic markers than their peers. Their nervous system were primed for catastrophe, tuned to a frequency of danger that their parents had endured and they had not. The survival mechanisms that kept their parents alive in the camps had been inherited as a kind of vigilance that had nowhere to discharge in a safe and quiet life. Your ancestors' survival is written into your stress response. That hypervigilance you have never been able to explain, the way your nervous system spikes before your conscious mind can intervene, the feeling that something is about to go wrong when everything is fine. Some of that may have been useful once. In a world your great-grandparents were desperately trying to survive, it kept them alive long enough to have children, to have you. And then it was handed to you, like a heirloom no one meant to pass along. There is a study that makes this almost impossible to dismiss as a coincidence. In a remote town in northern Sweden called Överkalix, a researcher named Marcus Pembry and his colleagues found a gold mine. The town had kept meticulous records of harvests, of food supplies, births, and deaths, stretching back over 100 years. Pembry's team traced families across generations and discovered something that, by every textbook standard of the time, should not have been possible. Boys who lived through a famine during a narrow window before puberty, roughly between the ages of 9 and 12, had grandchildren with measurably different lifespans and disease risks. The grandsons of the boys who had starved during that specific growth period were significantly less likely to die from cardiovascular diseases, but more likely to develop diabetes. The experience of a hungry boy in the 1800s was still shaping the health of his descendants a full century later. But why that specific age? That pre-puberty window is when the cells that will eventually become sperm are being formed and epigenetically marked. The boy's body was reading the environment. There is not enough food, and writing that information into the reproductive cells he would one day pass forward. The world he was living in became a biological instruction for descendants he would never live to meet. So, let this land. The person you call you did not begin at your birth. You arrived already written on. Your nervous system was tuned by the world your ancestors moved through. Their famine and their fears, their survivals and their losses, etched into your biology and carried forward into a body that is yours, but was never entirely yours alone. You have been carrying other people's experiences inside your cells your entire life, and you did not know about it. But this also changes how you see the people who raised you. Your mother's short temper, your father's cold distance, your grandmother's fear of waste, your grandfather, who could never relax, who slept with one eye open, who flinched at loud sounds. You inherited your reactions from them, and they inherited theirs from the people before them. And at no point did anyone sit down and choose any of it. They were all just carrying forward what was given to them, the same way you are now. The chain of inheritance stretches backward further than you can trace. Through people whose names you don't even know. Through wars and famines and displacements and survivals that were never recorded anywhere, except in the chemical markers on the DNA you are carrying right now. Now here's where most people misunderstand what this means. They hear epigenetics and they hear a cage. If so much of me was set before I arrived, then I am trapped. My anxiety is inherited, my temper is inherited. My tendencies were decided by dead people I never met. That reading misses the most liberating discovery in the entire field. Epigenetic markers can change. They are reversible. The same mechanism that wrote your ancestors' experiences into your biology is still active inside you right now. Your experiences today are writing new markers and adjusting old ones. The body you feed, the stress you learn to regulate, the sleep you get, the relationships you build or fail to build, all of it is editing the software in real time. You arrived with inherited writing you did not author, but you're also still writing, every day, with every choice you make about how to live. This is where a specific kind of relief becomes available, the kind that nothing else can offer. Those reactions you have hated yourself for, the sudden flinch, the collapse of patience, the anxiety that floods in before reason can touch it. These were calibrated by a world you did not choose. They were evidence that someone, somewhere in your line, needed to be exactly that vigilant in order to survive long enough to produce you. But you can't stop carrying that as shame. It was always an inheritance, and now you know its name. And because it is epigenetic rather than permanently fixed in the genetic code, the setting can be softened, slowly, through the life you build, the habits you repeat, the environments you place yourself in, and the patient work of teaching your own nervous system that the old danger is gone. The writing you arrived with is real. The writing is also negotiable. The same mechanism that passed your ancestors' hardship forward can also carry forward the things you choose to heal. If you learn to regulate your stress, if you build a calmer nervous system through practice and patience, and the slow work of changing how you respond to the world, the epigenetic markers associated with that regulation can be passed forward to your children. The work you do on yourself does not end with you. It writes itself into the biology of people who have not yet been born, adjusting their baseline, giving them a slightly calmer starting point than the one you were handed. Your healing is never just for you. It travels forward, quietly, into descendants you will never meet, writing a slightly gentler inheritance into their cells before they take their first breath. You did not choose the starting setting. You are the first person in your entire line who gets to choose what happens next.